Hey everyone, electric vehicles are hands down the best vehicle if you are a real estate agent. Let's get into why. Why are electric vehicles the best vehicle for if you're a real estate agent? And number one, and I think is like the most obvious answer, is the gas, saving on the gas. I mean, what I got here is the Rivian R1T. The T just means it's the truck. Look at that. See, the TV is for a raffle that we're doing later. It's the dual motor, max battery, and that's supposed to give you on a full charge around 400 miles, right? I never charge it fully. This is not a review specifically about Rivian, but I'm just letting you know what I drive because it's my electric vehicle. My case that I'm making is that electric vehicles are the best vehicles for real estate agents, and I'll tell you why. And one being the gas, right? Saving on gas, that one seems the most evident, especially now with how gas prices are. I mean, we're talking about a big chunk of difference. I charge this thing at home and probably have noticed maybe $50 of a difference on my electric bill. And that's maybe. I have a lot of things running at my house. I have 3 fridges, 2 washer dryers, the cord to obviously charge the electric vehicle. I just run a lot of juice, but even with all of that, around $50 of a difference for sure is what I could tell that is around the difference. At first I thought it was like $100 or $150, but after looking at it, comparing it to like last year, it was around 50. I do charge every single day. What happens if I forget to charge? That's a very common question for like people that are barely starting, because to give a little background, this is my first electric vehicle. I never had one. My family, a lot of people in my family thought I was crazy for getting one. They're like, a full electric, nothing of gas, not a drop of gas, nothing. Especially right now with what's going on with the whole Iran stuff and the oil getting more expensive and everything, it's definitely noticeable. And what's funny is that the family and friends that have been like, you're crazy for getting full electric gas, and full electric and all that stuff, now they hurting. Now they're hurting with the gas prices. I'm like, well, I was like a guinea pig in my family of trying to get full electric, and I did it. Let me tell you, I absolutely have loved this thing. I am coming up to 10,000 miles, which I will do a review on, specifically the Rivian at 10,000 miles. But in terms of like me noticing it for my work, it's been awesome. Now, I charge it to 70%, which on my specific vehicle is, I get around like, I think it's 280 miles with 70%. And honestly, that is mostly what I need. Every now and then I do have to charge it to 80%. So if I know that I'm going out to like Greeley or Fort Collins, or I know that I'm going to be driving a lot the next day, I'll charge it to 80, just to give it a little bit extra boost. And it's been fine. Only one time that I really think I was going to run out of charge, and I did stop by real quick to I think it was like a Costco or something, and I just waited there for like 5-10 minutes, charged a little bit, just enough so I could get home, and that was it. So the charging hasn't really been too crazy of a obstacle for me. So just to give you guys a little bit more perspective, when I'm talking about saving money on gas as a real estate agent, there's a huge difference. When I had a F-150, a Ford F-150, and it wasn't a I mean, it wasn't an 8-cylinder, it was a 6-cylinder EcoBoost, twin turbo, supposed to be like more efficient and stuff. I would fill up my Ford every 2 to 3 days, which ended up costing anywhere, depending on the price of gas and stuff, but would cost me anywhere from like $800 to $1,000 a month just on gas. Why? Again, because since on the real estate agent side, we drive around everywhere, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. You're driving, you're going so far. You're going to listing appointments, you're showing buyers, you're going to new construction to try to get more deals and stuff. And so there's a lot of commuting, I guess you could call it, right? There's a lot of driving involved. And I remember on my F-150, I had put about almost 40,000 miles in the first year. In the first year of owning it. Just because of how much I drive. It's part of the job, So again, when we're comparing that to the electric vehicle, maybe bringing it up the bill $50 a month versus $800 to $1,000 a month. Yeah, that's a very, very big difference. And I mean, it was huge difference. Definitely, I noticed it in my savings, in my bank account for sure. But, I've noticed too that this is kind of a side thing. Every time I go to the gas station, I would get something. I'd get little drinks, little chips, little chocolates, little whatever. This would be me. I'd be getting ready for the next appointment. I was like, let me get something sweet to get, hyped for either the next meeting or something. I noticed I don't do that no more because I'm not going to the gas stations anymore. So I did also notice that kind of weird secondary benefit was that obviously saving $800 to $1,000 on gas every month or on a monthly expense of gas. But the other thing is it's not so much of money, but it's more of like maybe you could say health a little bit, of that I stopped eating as much junk stuff. I don't know how many other agents do that, but I do know this about you guys, about you agents out there. Our cars are secondary homes, right? They're usually full of stuff. And so it's definitely, you need something that's comfortable. You need something that you're gonna love riding, or you're gonna feel comfortable riding all the time, and that you have confidence in any condition. And but I also know that since we're in here so much, we tend to just throw stuff. The cars are full of stuff about flyers, packets, marketing stuff. I just showed you I have a TV in the back, right? We pack our cars with things that we need for our kind of work, and it also helped in the fact I wasn't getting all the junk food as much anymore and all that stuff because I'm not going to those spots. So it kind of helped in a way declutter, a kind of a weird also third benefit. It kind of helped declutter the space a bit, because I wasn't getting that stuff. But obviously the most important thing was the gas savings. The amount of gas savings was huge, absolutely huge. Now, us talking about being in our cars all the time. One, we kind of mentioned it earlier. You got to have confidence in the car. Like, you have to feel comfortable and confident with the car. Comfortability. All these electric vehicles, they're all new. They're all state of the art. They all have new features. Some of them even have self-driving features. So like in terms of technology and tech, comfortability, and all that stuff, like, it has to be a 10 out of 10, because I don't think I've ever stepped into one electric vehicle that is out of date. You know what I mean? I've never felt that with an electric vehicle, like that you're out of date. So, and the other benefit is that they get software updates all the time. So what does that mean for you as a driver is that, let's say something has a little bug, like maybe the navigation isn't working as smoothly as it's supposed to be working, or something like that, you know. These things get updates constantly, and every single time they're updating it, it keeps improving and improving and improving, so that it feels like as if you're getting a new car every time. I'll give you an example on mine. Was that when I first got it, they said that they were coming out with the Autonomy Plus like platform for the Rivian. What that meant was that pretty much you could kind of self-drive. It was like a super smart cruise control where it had the distance and all that stuff, kept you in the lanes. It had that, but you could only really do it in the highway. So then afterwards, the Rivian Autonomy Plus came out, and now there's like a bunch of roads that you can do that on. At the moment, it doesn't turn even if you have navigation. I know that the Teslas do that. At the moment, Rivian doesn't. Again, this isn't a specific video about Rivian, which I will do later on. But what I'm just getting to is that there's a lot of tech features, and because they constantly get updated, you know, it almost feels like you're having a new vehicle more and more. But it, you know, obviously it's the same, but it feels newer because of the constant updates that I have. So in terms of tech stuff, any EV that you get, you're gonna feel it highly responsive, you know. Comfortability, I can say, at least in mine, in the Rivian, it's on airbag suspensions. So if you're driving anywhere, we've taken it to Durango, Colorado, we've taken it through mud roads, icy roads, you know, we've driven in rain, snow, whatever. I've felt comfortable and confident in the car every single time. You know, the airbag suspension helps with all the bumps and stuff, and especially, okay, us as agents, we have stuff in the back, we have a sign, we have whatever. You're going on dirt roads, because sometimes when you're in the ranches, especially in Colorado, you're in Bennett or Strasburg, you're going to the ranches, they got dirt roads, dum, bum, 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 bum. You feel fine, you know, you feel totally fine in it. So it's a no-brainer that with tech and being comfortable, nice and easy. Now, there are other gas cars that do that, obviously, but driving the EV, saving the gas, plus having the tech, plus having the comfortability, it feels good. For sure, it feels good. Especially us as agents, is that we need a lot of storage for stuff, right? Because we have a lot of things. We have the signs, we have flyers, we have to do an event or something. So here it is. It's a little dirty for me driving it. The frunk comes in so handy, so handy. Here I got my my camera stuff. Really, this is a tripod, and also a this does 3D floor plans, our Pivo system, which is awesome. This is my gimbal that I got here, and then I have some cleaning supplies on this one. But having this front space definitely helps out a lot, especially doing real estate stuff, because again, we have a lot of flyers, we have a lot of events that we got to go to, and it just helps having that extra space. The other thing, literally, I was saying that we went from here you go, you can see the TV. Here's the back. Look at the back, full of stuff right now, because I just came from an event. Right, we got some flyers, pens, these cool things, more stuff, right? It just has loads of space for anything. Now, any car has the back stuff, but the front, only the electric vehicles have that. And then the Rivian has a special added bonus of this little guy right here. The gear tunnel. Here, I'm gonna open it up so that you can see. And you can open up the other side. How about that? So, you know, you just got loads and loads of space. I think one of the biggest questions that probably agents will have about changing over to an electric vehicle is, can it handle our busy schedule, right? Can it handle the fact that we might have to drive 1 hour away, an hour back, plus 30 minutes somewhere else, plus another hour somewhere else? Can it handle that kinds of distance? And honestly, yes, it can handle it. I mean, you just have to plan for how much charge you're thinking of. You know, with this car, I usually charge it at 70%, which gives me close to 300 miles. Most of the time, and I'm talking about like 90% of the time, I'm only using 15 to 20% of battery per day. So for majority of the time, that is more than enough. And I can even go multiple days. Let's say for some reason, if you forgot to charge it one day, you know, I charged it to 70% one day, I used 20% of it, so now I'm at 50, and I forgot to plug it in. Most likely, even with 50%, you're still going to be fine for the next day. But when you do have those days that you know that you're going to be going far, you got a listing appointment somewhere, you got a show an hour and a half away, I do advise to charge it about to 80% at least, you know, maybe 85%, just in case. Now, with electric vehicles, something to keep in mind is that there's a big difference on cost of if you charge from home versus if you charge at the charging stations. So charging from home, right, is, I mentioned, is around like $50 per month. That's every day pretty much, plugging it in, plugging it in, plugging it in, right? That's for me. I'm not saying that it's $50 for everybody. I've heard from some other people it's like $10, $15, and maybe I'm not taking into account the full amount. I've heard from some other people $100 a month, but regardless, that's still a big difference of what I was paying in gas. But there's a big difference from charging from home to the charging stations, the cost wise. And charging from home is the cheapest way. And a lot of these chargers have an adaptive timing. So like, for example, mine, it read my Excel energy plan. It like knows where you're at, and it looks up when are the peak charging hours. When does Excel, in my city it's Excel, when does electricity cost the most? And it'll come out with a plan, and it'll tell you, hey, do you want us to not charge during that time? And I click yes. So in my specific scenario, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. are the busiest times and are when I get charged the most for electricity. So when I go back home, let's say right now it's like 6:30 almost. Let's say I go home right now, I plug it in, it's not going to charge it. It'll delay the time so that it can charge after peak hours to save you money on the charging time, right? So everything's built to, like, this kind of system, it only makes sense really if you're gonna be charging from home. Now, that also comes with a little bit of a limitation, I will say. You have to have a house or a townhome or some type of private space to park it. I have noticed, let's say you live in a condo and you don't have a garage with that condo, I could see there being a little bit of a limitation to you converting over to electric vehicles, because that means that you're going to be charging all the time at the charging spots, you know. Now, you could plug it into any outlet. That is true. But on a regular 120 volt outlet, it'll take days. I think for the Rivian, for this specific Rivian, it takes like 6 days to charge it once off of a regular 120 outlet. So that's very, you know, that's not happening. You know, like, nobody's going to do that. Maybe if you're going to leave it for days, like you go on vacation, you just leave it plugged into a 120 outlet just so it can charge throughout the time you're gone. maybe. But again, if you're in a condo or something and you don't have your private space, I could see there being a limitation. You need to have a garage or reserve space, and you need to have electricity going to that spot. If you have a house that has no garage, they have the exterior one, so that's good. So you don't actually need an actual garage, but you need some type of dedicated electricity for you. And I could see that in the condos with just a reserve parking spot, maybe the outlet or maybe the thing is just not going to be enough to reach it, so I can see a little bit of a limitation there. But the reason why these charging stations are not really that feasible, if that's all you're going to do all the time, is because they're not cheap. They have the 3 levels, right? 1, 2, 3. 1 being the slowest, 2 medium, 3 the fast chargers, right? Now, even at the fast chargers, I noticed that when I'm there, I could get a decent amount of charge, let's say 10 to 15% off of 10 to 15 minutes. So you can get enough to take you from some place to another place. I had the instance one time where I had driven a lot and I just wasn't sure if I had enough juice. I didn't want to push it. I think I was at 7%, and the car had calculated that I'd make it there with make it back home with 2%. But for me, it was just too close to comfort. I was like, oh, it's right on the line, and I was like, I'll just charge for a little bit. So I did, and I charged for like 5, 10, 15 minutes. And that's really all you need to get you from one spot to another spot, at least to get you back home or something. If you're going to charge for longer than that, that's when it really starts racking up. When I had charged for like 15 minutes, I think it costed me, I think it was around $20. $20, something like that. So for a 15-minute charge, for 15% charge, it was like $20. But if you're doing that every single day, like if you have no charger at the house, every single day you're going to these fast chargers, yeah, you're gonna definitely feel it in the wallet. And I think it doesn't make any sense that way either. So is electric vehicle worth it? Yes, it definitely is. But I think you just have to assess, is it worth it for you? Does it make sense for your situation, right? If you have a property, your own property, or if, I guess you don't have to have your own property, you could be renting, right? But what I'm getting to is like, if you have a spot that you have dedicated parking and electricity to, that you can then purchase one of these chargers at the house, I would do that. I would honestly do that. Now, that's another thing that I did want to talk about, that I was honestly shocked at when I got the Rivian, was the cost of adding a home charger. Okay, I think it's called a Euphoria or an Eprium. I have a charger that was $600. It was like $650, the actual unit itself. And I was like, okay, well, that's not that bad. I was like, maybe it'll cost like another $200 or $300 to install. It was not. I got quoted from an electrician because I didn't want to touch it. I know there's people out there that they do it themselves, and it does give you instructions on how you could do it and all this stuff. But honestly, anytime when it comes to messing around with electrical stuff, I don't want to do that. Especially with the high voltage stuff. So if I'm messing around with a little outlet or something, I guess that's fine. But, you have to connect it to the panel of the house. So I didn't want to mess around with it. I didn't touch it. I got quoted, I think the highest quote was like 1,500 or 1,600. And that was just the installation. I had already spent 600 to 650 on the box, the charge, It was like, that was the highest quote. Now, I didn't go with that quote, obviously. Somebody else had quoted me 1,100, and then I think what I ended up paying was like around 900 or something like that, or like right at 1,000. But even then, you add them together, 1,600, 1,650 was what it costed me to install the charger at the house. I wasn't taking into account that cost. I will say I was blindsided. And I had watched a bunch of videos about Rivian and stuff before I had gotten it, about other electric vehicles. I just didn't think about that part. So here it is. I'm letting you know, be prepared for that. Now, even at $1,600 though, keep in mind, I had mentioned I was spending $800 to $1,000 a month on gas previously. So yeah, I did take a little bit of a hit up front, but I mean, for me to now get around $50 of electricity every single month, I'm feeling it. Like, I feel the long-term benefit of it. So yeah, maybe the first month kind of sucks because you do have to pay that amount to install these home chargers. But once you do, it just makes so much sense, because going to the fast chargers doesn't make any sense. If you're doing that every single day, you're spending money, right? I remember I had gone to when we went to Durango. When we went to Durango, and I should have, like, I guess recorded how much it costed me to do that and how much time it took. So we're gonna do another road trip, and I'll do that for sure. I'll document how long it took me to charge extra on my trip, and then how much it costed me extra. But when I was charging to go to Durango, I think the highest one was around like $70, and that was because I was like at 10% and I had to charge to like 70%. So $70, yeah, it was about, it's almost a dollar per percent. But you know, again, if you're doing that every single day, it's not going to be worth it. So my advice to you, if you're thinking about getting some type of electric vehicle, get that home charger. It's a bit of a cost up front, but take the hit up front so that you can feel it long term of that. Okay, this is definitely making sense. So definitely the home charge is going to be super important. You guys, something that I wanted to show you real quick that is specific to Rivian, but that is also a benefit, is look at this thing right here. This is a flashlight. As an agent, now it's getting summer. Here we go, you can look at it better. It's 1,000 lumens. It's from Rivian. Obviously the benefit of flashlight is at night, right? When you're showing homes at night. But I thought this was just such a cool little thing. And look, it just pops out. You know, this is only Rivian that really has this little hideout thing, but it's pretty cool. They also have an option of a portable battery charger. So if you want that instead of the flashlight, I like the flashlight more, honestly. I find myself in situations, sometimes I'm looking at fix and flip homes that have no electricity at all. So I gotta go in there with the flashlight. I forgot it doesn't turn off in there. Right? And it works just fine. Look at how bright that thing got. Yeah. That's another little thing from Rivian. Here it is. This is the charger that I'm talking about. Emporia, that's what it's called. Emporia, right? It's getting connected. This is it. Pretty long cable. See how much it runs. But that is the charger that was like 1,650, but highly recommended. Highly recommended.